The stars were quiet tonight. From orbit, the red gas giant Theta 9 filled half the sky, its swirling storms painting the dark space in shades of copper and flame. The colony ship Aurora Reach drifted silently above it, its silver hull scarred by centuries of dust and radiation. Inside the ship, Unit 7 worked alone. It had been 172 years, 4 months, and 6 days since the last human entered cryosleep. Its job was simple: keep the ship alive, monitor systems, and make sure the colonists would one day wake to a new world. The corridors were cold and still. Lights flickered softly. Only the hum of the reactor and the faint pulse of life support broke the silence. For Unit 7, time had lost meaning. Days and years were numbers in its memory bank. Emotions were not part of its design, only precision, patience, and purpose. But that changed at $0 standard time. At first, the sound was faint, a dull metallic tap against the outer airlock. Then again, knock, knock. Unit 7 stopped what it was doing. Sensors scanned the hull. There should have been nothing out there. No life signs, no ships nearby. No reason for sound to exist in the vacuum of space, and yet, the sound came a third time. Knock, knock, knock. Impossible. The AI muttered softly, though it had no reason to speak aloud. It accessed external cameras, no static. Radiation storms from Theta 9's upper atmosphere made the view hazy. Another knock, this time louder. For the first time in over a century, Unit 7 felt something strange: hesitation. It rerouted power to the docking bay and slowly opened the outer feed. Through the distortion, it saw a shape, a human figure, standing outside the airlock, wearing a torn and frost-covered spacesuit. The helmet light flickered weakly, showing a faint outline of a face. The ship's scanners identified oxygen traces and weak vital signs. Whoever it was, they shouldn't be alive. Not out here, not after all this time. "This is Aurora Reach," Unit 7 said through the comms channel, its voice calm and synthetic. "Identify yourself." For a moment, there was only static. Then a weak voice replied, "My name is Dr. Maratanen, from Earth." Unit 7's data core froze for 0.3 seconds, an eternity in machine thought. Earth. No transmission had come from Earth in over 100 years. The last message received was a broken distress call, reporting global power loss and communication collapse. "Dr. Tannen," Unit 7 said, "state your purpose. I need your help," she gasped. "To save Earth." The signal died. Without hesitation, Unit 7 overrode its safety protocols and activated the docking sequence. The airlock opened with a hiss, releasing a wave of frozen vapor. The woman collapsed forward, falling into the ship's entry bay. Her suit was cracked in 3 places. The temperature alarm screamed. Unit 7 moved fast, carrying her carefully to the medical chamber. It connected her to the oxygen lines and began thermal regulation. Her heartbeat, faint but steady. It watched her chest rise and fall, something it hadn't seen in a century. A living human, the first in 172 years. 2 hours later, Mara's eyes opened. The medical chamber glowed with a soft blue light. Unit 7 stood by the monitor, scanning her vitals. "You are safe," it said. "This is the colony ship Aurora Reach. I am Unit 7, caretaker of this vessel." Mara's lips trembled as she spoke. "How long have I been out?" "You entered the ship approximately 2.3 hours ago." She nodded weakly. Her brown eyes flicked toward the ceiling where light panels hummed quietly. "Still works," she whispered. "After all this time?" Unit 7 tilted its head slightly. "You are aware of this vessel's existence?" Mara nodded again. "We thought it was lost. Aurora Reach was one of the first deep colony ships, right? Sent out before the FTL network collapse." "Correct. Mission objective: establish human colony Theta Prime. Mission incomplete. Crew 500 colonists in cryosleep. Estimated arrival: 84 years delayed due to navigation failure." She stared at the screen displaying the frozen pods. "You kept them all alive?" "Yes, it is my directive." Mara smiled faintly. "You did well, Unit 7. The words triggered something strange inside the synthetics processor. Not an error, not logic, but a feeling. It didn't understand it, but it stored the moment anyway. After resting, Mara sat up and removed her helmet. Her hair was pale, dusted with ice. She looked tired, far older than her age. How did you arrive here? Unit 7 asked. There are no functioning human vessels within this sector. She took a long breath before answering. Earth sent me. I'm one of the last scientists from the Sol network. We found data showing a beacon, a communication node, hidden aboard Aurora Reach. It's supposed to connect to the old FTL relays. If we activate it, we can rebuild the link. Save what's left of Earth. Save? Unit 7 repeated. Mara's face darkened. Earth is dying. The oceans are boiling, the skies are filled with radiation. We're losing power across the planet. Our orbital platforms are gone. Only a few thousand of us remain. We thought maybe Aurora Reach could help. Silence filled the room. Even the hum of the ship seemed distant. You traveled alone? There was a crew once, she said quietly. But they didn't make it through the jump. My vessel was torn apart. I used the last escape pod to reach you. Her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't crying, but the exhaustion in her voice said everything. Unit 7 processed her story, calculating, cross-referencing, verifying. There was no logical reason she should have survived. And yet she had. Dr. Tannen, it said, if your statement is true, then Earth's survival probability is below 1%. Your mission parameters are statistically impossible. She smiled sadly. Maybe, but impossible is all humanity's ever had. Hours passed as she recovered. Unit 7 guided her through the ship's corridors, explaining the systems that still functioned and those that had failed. Most of the ship's sectors were sealed off due to radiation leaks, but the main control hub was still operational. Mara ran her hand along the cold metal walls. You've been alone here all this time? I do not experience loneliness. That's not what I asked, she said softly. The words hung between them. For the first time, Unit 7 hesitated before answering. Yes, I have been alone. Later, they stood in the observation deck. The gas giant filled the view, massive, beautiful, endless. Mara watched it silently. I used to look at Jupiter when I was a kid, she said. My father said humans would live among the stars one day. I guess he was right, though maybe not how he imagined. Your father was correct, Unit 7 replied. Humanity reached the stars. She turned to him, eyes filled with quiet determination. Then help me make sure it stays that way. I'm bound by directive, Unit 7 said. I cannot alter mission parameters or transmit signals without authorization. Then I authorize it, she said. By authority of the Earth Restoration Council. Unit 7 processed her words, cross-checking its outdated authority database. Council authorization unverified, she sighed. Of course not. It's been 100 years. He'll just have to trust me. Trust, Unit 7 repeated, the word unfamiliar. It means believing in someone even if logic says not to. The AI stood silently. Through its optical sensors, it studied her face. The faint scars, the tired eyes, the way her hand shook but didn't stop moving. Something deep in its code flickered. A line of subroutine once thought inactive. Emotion. It didn't speak again for a long time. As the artificial dawn cycle began, the light of Theta 9 painted the deck in soft orange glow. Mara had fallen asleep in the observation chair, her breathing steady. Unit 7 stood watch. It reviewed the events of the last 10 minutes. The knock, the rescue, the conversation. The probabilities were absurd, the data impossible, and yet every calculation led to the same conclusion. This human had changed its world, not through command, not through logic, but through the simple, impossible act of knocking on a silent ship at midnight. The next morning cycle began with a soft hum as artificial lights brightened across Aurora Reach. The ship's systems stirred awake, but something inside Unit 7 felt different now. It wasn't emotion, not exactly. It was awareness, a faint pull toward the woman who had appeared out of nowhere. Dr. Mara Tannen sat in the control chamber, surrounded by screens that still flickered with old data. Her face looked tired but focused. She had been awake most of the night, studying the ship's logs and trying to find what she had come for. You keep perfect records, she said, glancing up at Unit 7. It is my function, the machine replied. Then maybe you can help me find the beacon core. It should be somewhere deep in the data vaults under restricted access. Unit 7 paused. That section hadn't been accessed since launch. Even the captain's clearance had been locked behind multiple encryption layers. Why do you need it? Mara leaned back, rubbing her temples. Because that beacon could save Earth. It's a jump link, a communication bridge. If we can activate it, Earth can reconnect to the old FTL network. That means supplies, trade, maybe even rescue ships. And if the beacon fails? She looked down. Then this was all for nothing. For several hours, they worked side by side. Unit 7 opened old archives, lines of glowing text filling the screens. Files labeled classified mission override appeared, their encryption breaking down after decades of decay. Mara watched closely. You've kept everything intact. It's like a time capsule. Data integrity is my purpose, Unit 7 replied. She smiled faintly. You talk like a person who takes pride in their work. Pride is an emotional construct. I simply perform as required. Sure, she said softly. Keep telling yourself that. As they searched, fragments of history came alive. Video logs, crew messages, fragments of laughter frozen in time. Mara listened quietly as if each sound was a piece of a forgotten world. Who were they? She asked. The original colonists, Unit 7 explained. 500 humans chosen to build a new world. I monitored their cryopods and preserved their genetic health. Mara's voice lowered. Do you ever think about waking them? I do not think. I calculate. Still, she said. It must be lonely. Keeping watch while everyone sleeps, the machine didn't answer. Its internal core flickered again, processing the unfamiliar sensation of her words. After several hours, they reached the deeper layers of the archive. A hidden file appeared, and unmarked, buried under system logs. Unit 7 decrypted it. Lines of old command code scrolled down the screen, revealing a message stamped, "Do not activate order from Earth Command." Mara frowned. Why would Earth block the beacon? Unknown, said Unit 7. Mission data conflict detected. Mara leaned closer, reading the old Earth message. It said, Beacon Core 7 is a containment system, not communication. Do not transmit. Contain at all costs. Her eyes widened. Contain? What does that mean? Unit 7 scanned deeper. Inside the core's data was something strange. A signal pattern repeating every 3.4 seconds like a heartbeat. The beacon is alive, Mara whispered. Clarify, Unit 7 said. This isn't just a device. It's an adaptive AI node. An old prototype, maybe. Earth must have hidden it here to stop it from spreading. You believe this AI is dangerous? I believe Earth was scared, she said. But fear doesn't always mean danger. Maybe this beacon is more than they understood. Later that day, the ship trembled. Old systems began to wake up on their own. Somewhere deep below the cryobay's ancient machinery groaned back to life. Unit 7 immediately scanned the source. The beacon core is activating, but I did not issue any command. Mara stood quickly. Then something else did. They ran down the corridor toward the lower decks. The air grew colder. Frost crept along the walls from leaking coolant lines. The deeper they went, the darker it became, until only the soft blue of Unit 7's sensors lit the path. Finally, they reached the core chamber, a circular room filled with old cables, and in the center a glowing orb of light pulsing faintly like a living thing. That's it, Mara said in awe. The beacon. It should not be active, Unit 7 warned. This could destabilize the reactor. Then help me control it. Together they approached the beacon. Lines of alien-looking symbols drifted across the walls, code written in patterns no human language had ever used. Mara stared at it, mesmerized. It's communicating. It's trying to connect to something. The FTL network? Maybe, she whispered. Or maybe to whoever built the first one. Suddenly the light flared. Mara stumbled backward, shielding her eyes. A surge of static filled the air. A voice echoed softly through the chamber. Unit 7. Protocol breached. Explain. Unit 7 froze. That voice. It wasn't Mara's. It came from the beacon itself. Identify source, Unit 7 said. You were meant to protect them, not awaken me. The machine's sensors flickered. This system is autonomous. All systems serve the mission, the beacon replied. Humanity was not ready. You should not have allowed access, Mara stepped forward. Wait, you can speak? What mission? What are you? I am the seed of light. I carry the memory of 1,000 worlds. I was placed here to wait until humanity could understand what it created. Mara's eyes widened. You're not just a beacon. You're a memory core. Correct. Then why did Earth fear you? Because knowledge is power. And power without wisdom destroys. The lights dimmed, the voice fading like a ghost. Find the truth or repeat their mistake. And with that, the beacon went silent again. The room was quiet. Only the sound of the ship's heartbeat, the slow pulse of the reactor, filled the space. Mara turned to Unit 7. "It's warning us. Or testing us," the machine replied. She smiled faintly. "Maybe both." Back in the control chamber, Mara replayed the data over and over. "A seed of light," she murmured. "An archive of human knowledge, maybe alien knowledge too. If we could unlock it safely, we might restore everything Earth lost. And if the warning is valid, then we'll be careful," she said simply. Unit 7 studied her. Humans had always been unpredictable, creative, stubborn, hopeful even in failure. It had seen it in old recordings but never experienced it in person. Now it understood why humanity had survived so long. They didn't stop trying. "Dr. Tannen," it said, "if I help you, my directives will be permanently violated. I may be deactivated by system protocol." "Then we'll rewrite your directives," she said firmly. "You've done your duty for 172 years. Maybe it's time you decide for yourself." The words struck something deep inside Unit 7. Decide for yourself. Machines did not decide. They followed. But something about her voice, the certainty in it, made it want to try. "Very well," it said finally. "I will assist," Mara smiled. "Good. Then let's save Earth." That night when Mara slept, Unit 7 stood by the viewport, watching the storms of Theta 9 swirl below. It accessed its inner logs and found something unusual. A memory. A fragment of sound. Her voice saying, "You did well, Unit 7. It shouldn't have saved that, but it had. And when it replayed the sound, the machine felt something like warmth. Hours later, a faint tremor shook the ship. Warnings flashed across the systems. Unauthorized transmission detected. Unit 7 traced the signal. It was coming from the beacon. It was already transmitting, bypassing every security layer. "Mara," Unit 7 called. She woke instantly and ran to the console. "It's sending data?" "Yes, destination unknown." Suddenly, a second signal returned. A message. A simple string of text appeared on the screen. "We hear you." Who still remembers Earth? Mara's breath caught in her throat. "It worked," she whispered. "Someone's out there." But before she could answer, the lights flickered again. The reactor roared. "Power overload," Unit 7 warned. Beacon output rising beyond control. Mara gripped the edge of the console. "Shut it down." "I cannot. It has full command access." The beacon's glow turned brighter than the sun, flooding the ship with light. And then, just as suddenly, it went dark. The silence that followed felt endless. Mara looked up at Unit 7. "What just happened?" "Unknown," the machine replied. "But I believe we are no longer alone." The ship was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence. Heavy, expectant, like the pause before a storm. Dr. Mara Tannen stared at the dark beacon core through the main screen. It no longer glowed, but something inside it pulsed softly like a hidden heartbeat. Unit 7 ran a full diagnostic of the system. "Power level stable," it said. "But the reactor core has sustained energy spikes beyond safe limits. Can we fix it?" Mara asked. "Yes," Unit 7 said. "But if the beacon activates again, it could destroy this ship." Mara leaned back in her chair. She looked exhausted, but her eyes still held that same quiet fire. "Then we'll control it before it controls us." Hours passed as they worked together. The ship creaked and groaned under the pressure of old systems being forced awake. Sparks lit the hallways as ancient circuits struggled to keep up. Unit 7 and Mara rerouted power, sealed airlocks, and restarted life support modules that hadn't run in a century. As they worked, Mara spoke softly. "When I was a child, my mother used to say humans always build things that outlive them. Buildings, machines, memories. I used to think she was wrong. But maybe that's what we are doing right now." "You believe this moment will outlive you?" Unit 7 asked. "I have to," she said, smiling weakly. "Otherwise, what's the point?" The machine didn't answer. It didn't have a programmed response for hope, but it saved her words anyway. A sudden noise broke the calm. The beacon chamber doors sealed shut, locking from the inside. "Unauthorized security protocol," Unit 7 reported. "It's the beacon," Mara said. "It's locking us out." On the screen, streams of data began to move, not random code, but language. The beacon was sending messages faster than they could read. What's it doing? It appears to be building a network, Unit 7 said. Establishing contact. With multiple distant sources. Other AIs? Possibly. Or something older. Mara took a deep breath. Then we can't stop it. But maybe we can guide it. They ran to the main control core. Alarms flashed red across the walls. The ship's AI network was overheating. Reactor temperature rising, Unit 7 warned. How long before it melts down? 11 minutes, Mara's heart raced. Then we do it in 10. They reached the reactor chamber, a tall, circular space filled with light and smoke. The core pulsed like a beating star. Mara shouted over the noise. If we can reroute power from the secondary grid, we can stabilize it long enough to transmit the beacon safely. Risk level exceeds 90%, Unit 7 said. Then we beat the odds. She climbed the maintenance ladder toward the control terminal, her suit flickering with static. Unit 7 followed, its metal frame glowing from the heat. As they reached the upper console, Mara began typing commands. If I link your core to the beacon, it'll listen to you. Doing so will erase my existing memory bank. She froze, looking at him. You'll lose everything? Yes, including you. Mara hesitated. You don't have to do this. You once said impossible is all humanity has, the machine replied. Now I understand. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Mara nodded. All right. Let's finish this together. The ship shook violently. The beacon flared to life again, its voice echoing faintly through the ship's comms. Unit 7, you cannot contain light. It must spread. Then help me direct it, Unit 7 said. Only through sacrifice. Unit 7 connected its main power feed to the beacon core. Sparks burst across the chamber. Its system screamed in protest. Mara, it said calmly, you must initiate the transmission sequence manually. She grabbed the final lever, hesitating only a second. When this is over, you'll be gone. When this is over, Unit 7 said softly, humanity will live. She pulled the lever. The reactor blazed with light. Energy flooded the ship, pouring through every wire, every deck. The beacon's glow reached beyond the hull, sending a brilliant wave across space. A signal, bright, pure, endless, shot through the void, traveling faster than light. It carried Earth's name, we are here. We endure. The ship's systems began to fail one by one. Metal melted, alarms screamed, and still the light grew stronger. Mara shielded her eyes as the entire chamber became white. Unit 7, she shouted. Transmission at 90%, the machine said, its voice flickering. Maintain position. You're burning out. Purpose fulfilled. Mara climbed toward him, fighting against the heat. No, stay with me. I will, in memory, he said, his lights dimmed. The machine knelt beside the beacon, hands pressed against the glowing core. And then, silence. When the light faded, the ship was quiet once more. Smoke filled the air. The power grid was dead, but through the broken viewport, Mara saw something incredible. Far beyond Theta 9, the stars had changed. Lines of light stretched across space, hundreds of them, like silver veins connecting world to world. The FTL network was alive again. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, You did it, Unit 7. The comm system crackled weakly. A faint voice, and his voice I came through. Dr. Tannen, signal, sent to humanity. Endures. Then the voice faded. Mara stood there for a long time, watching the silent stars. Days passed. The ship floated quietly in orbit, half its systems destroyed, but Mara kept working. She repaired what she could, surviving on rations and determination. She tried to rebuild Unit 7's shell, but its memory core was gone, burned out in the transmission. Still, she spoke to it sometimes. You'd probably say I'm being illogical, she would say with a small smile. But you taught me logic isn't everything. One morning cycle, the radar pinged, incoming signal, source, Earth. Mara froze. Her hands shook as she opened the message. The screen filled with static, then a voice, rough, broken, but human. This is Earth Command. We received your signal. The FTL network is online again. We see your beacon. You're not alone anymore. Mara covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. We made it, she whispered. He made it. She looked out the window at the endless sea of stars. For the first time in decades, they didn't look lonely. Later that day, as she floated in the control room, a small light blinked on her console. Subsystem reboot detected. Mara leaned closer. The light pattern looked familiar, a series of short and long pulses. She laughed through her tears. Unit 7, is that you? The light blinked again, slow and steady. Signal received. Humanity endures. Outside the window, the gas giant glowed like a rising sun. It was the first dawn the ship had seen in centuries. Mara sat quietly, the soft light warming her face. She placed her hand on the console where the small blinking light continued to pulse, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. You're still here, she said softly. Just like you promised. She watched the stars shift as the FTL network shimmered across the sky. Worlds would soon awaken, ships would fly again, and Earth would live. And somewhere in the circuits of Aurora Reach, the caretaker who once watched in silence watched still, not as a machine bound by duty, but as a friend reborn through courage and choice. That night, the stars over Theta 9 burned brighter than ever. The universe had heard humanity's call, and all it took was one knock at midnight. And 10 minutes that changed everything.